It was said about Cleopatra that she is of magical beauty, and that she is determined and skeptical, and that she has a fast intuition and sharp intelligence. Is everything that was said is true, or that he has some exaggerations? Certainly Cleopatra is not an ordinary woman, because she managed to trap the great Roman Julius Caesar in her traps. And after his assassination she managed to persuade a great Roman leader, Mark Antony, to marry her. Interesting facts you may first know about Cleopatra. Cleopatra was appointed as a deputy to her father, Ptolemy XII, when she was 14 years old. Then she became Queen of Egypt when she was 18 years old, in partnership with her brother Ptolemy XIII. After finding a coin of silver engraved with Cleopatra's face, many experts began to question the accounts that talk about the legendary beauty of Cleopatra. So studying the face engraved on the silver coin turns out to be the owner of the face with a long nose, pointed chin and lips, so it is believed that she was not beautiful at all. It was ugly in shape, but her entire charm lay in her voice and her sweet words, her mastery of multiple languages, and her strong and attractive personality, culture and broad knowledge. Cleopatra was not of Egyptian origin, but rather of Greek and Roman origin. Its name is Greek, and its origins are due to the Greek Macedonian dynasty that started with Ptolemy I and that ruled Egypt after the death of Alexander the Great. And the Egyptians loved Cleopatra as a result of the safety and prosperity that it achieved during its reign. And from it is really unfortunate that Cleopatra was the last king of the pharaohs. Her full title is Cleopatra VII, as there are 6 women who preceded her and carried the same name Cleopatra. Although Egyptian experts consider her the most famous of them in spite of being the last pharaoh to rule Egypt. The eye makeup that Cleopatra used was not only used for cosmetic purposes, but also had medical benefits, as he used in the composition of iodine salts that contribute to protecting the eye from infection with a number of diseases. Cleopatra during her lifespan of less than 4 decades has killed many of her family. And it seems brutal when knowing that she did so in order to preserve her safety and throne. And many documentaries Cleopatra show that she has a killer and cold heart. But contrary to popular belief, many historians agree that Cleopatra only resorted to murder when it proved that it was absolutely necessary, and that her family would have killed her if she had not done so first. Julius Caesar poisoned her brother, Ptolemy XIV. There is no place for feelings in politics. Cleopatra is said to have bathed in a tub of milk to preserve her beauty and the freshness of her skin, although most rulers of the Ptolemaic dynasty still largely preserved Greek ideas, language, and culture. Cleopatra was different, and she made great efforts in her youth to study and understand Egyptian culture. Perhaps she knew that one day she would become a queen for Egypt, so she learned the Egyptian language to become the only one in her family to do so. Arab references dating back to the era after the conquest of Egypt reported that Cleopatra was adept at philosophy, chemistry, and mathematics. On June 23, 47 BC, It was the most important day in the life of Queen Cleopatra VII, when the birth of her child from Julius Caesar, which she called Ptolemy 15, Caesarine, the legitimate heir to the throne of Egypt, and perhaps the throne of Rome in the future, if Julius Caesar he officially announced his marriage. Cleopatra did not die because of a snake bite, as is common. She killed herself with a mixture of opium, hemlock, and wolfsbane, a deadly, painless and deadly mixture, at just 39 years of age. Cleopatra did not die because of her anguish over Antoninus, although everyone loves the romantic character in the story of Cleopatra and Antony, and that she was already deeply saddened at his death. But historians believe that there are other motives that led to her death, because she is not a personality with this weakness. And it is likely that the fall of Egypt in the hands of the Romans is the real reason behind her suicide. Cleopatra predicted that she would be presented as a trophy booty for the Romans, and that would be a kind of humiliation for her as the Queen of Egypt, as she had shifted from a state of pride and wealth to a state of bankruptcy that she could not bear living in. So her suicide was not the result of imaginary romantic motives, but rather motives more realistic. Again, romantic feelings prevailed in the story that Cleopatra was buried with her lover, Marcus Antonius, and there is a split between experts on this issue. There is an opinion that believes that Cleopatra built for herself a cemetery in Alexandria, and the other opinion believes that the two lovers were buried together in one of the temples. In reality, this myth will not be proven true or false unless the Cleopatra cemetery, now in the depths of the water, is found next to the remains of the ancient city of Alexandria. Historians criticized Cleopatra and described her as a trivial queen who spent a lot on her beauty and her hair. And indeed Cleopatra was very interested in her beauty and her hair, and was wearing precious clothes. And in fact she took 50% of the gross domestic product income of Egypt for her. But she also ruled Egypt in a very good way. Besides, she was a serious personality and smart. According to historical documents, it has implemented major plans for the public good within a short. Cleopatra gave women in her kingdom rights, unlike many other major kingdoms at the time, and also collected and redistributed taxes in a thoughtful way in addition to promoting trade and teaching. Many people, especially those sympathetic to Roman history, portray that Cleopatra was a prostitute and established relationships with many men, but the truth is the opposite. Cleopatra established only 2 relationships with 2 men, Julius Caesar and Marcus Antonius, and those relationships were a strategic goal and not for passion and lust. But it is possible that after that Marcus Antony disagreed and developed into a true affection. Cleopatra is considered one of the most attractive historical figures for directors and actors, whether in cinema, television and theater. And the most prominent cinematic faces that played the role of Cleopatra in the cinema is British actress Vivien Leigh and actress Rhonda Fleming, and also presented by Sophia Loren. And in 1963 Elizabeth Taylor in the famous movie Cleopatra, considered one of the largest and most expensive productions in Hollywood history. In 2002, The famous Italian actress Monica Bellucci played Cleopatra in a French comedy film entitled Asterix and Obelix Meet Cleopatra.